Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Monday, 22nd day of April, 17th day of Nissan. Here we go. Let's give the background of everything that you need to know in 4 minutes or less on Sefiras HaOmer. First of all, what Sefiras HaOmer means. Well, way back when we used to have a Beis Hamikdash, the way things used to work was that a special carbon was brought on the second day of Pesach, and it would be a measure called an omer, and it would be made out of barley. And as soon as that carbon was brought, then all of the new grain was permissible to be eaten. If you had stuff that was new and it had not passed through the time of this carbon yet, then you would have to wait to eat it until after the carbon omer was brought. And the carbon omer was brought, and then God told us to count each day from the bringing of the carbon of the omer. So God told us to say, this is the first day of the omer, and then we would say this is the second day of the omer. And then when we got to the end of the week, we would say, on the eighth day, we would, we would say today is the eighth day, which marks 1 week and 1 day of the Omer. That's what God told us to do, all the way up until 49 days or 7 weeks, and then on the 50th day, it would be Shavuos. Hence, we call this time of the year Sefiras HaOmer, the time of the counting of Omer. Now, then something happened hundreds and hundreds of years later, and that was that Rebbe Akiva, who had become very quickly a very, very great Tana, a very great rabbi teaching thousands of students, had 24,000 students who became ill with a certain disease, and they died over a period of 33 days, and it happened somewhere during this time when we count the Omer. Some say it was the first 33 days, and therefore some people will be observing a time of sadness during the first 33 days of the Omer. Others say that it happened near the last 33 days of the Omer, and they'll be observing the time of sadness then. I always like to remind people that Sefiras HaOmer was not intended by God to be a sad time. Quite the contrary, Sefiras HaOmer is an uplifting time when we count. We're 1 day since that lowly state when we just brought a little sacrifice of barley, and then we rise and we rise and we rise until the 50th day is Shavuos, the day we receive the Torah. So it's a very uplifting time. But the students of Rabbi Akiva, the way the Gemara tells it, did not respect each other enough, whatever that means. There are many explanations of that. And because of that, God punished them with this disease, and 24,000 of them died during this period. And so it later became marked as 33 days of sadness. So again, Sefiras HaOmer is not made to be a sad time, but because it was an uplifting time, and the students of Rabbi Akiva weren't lifted up enough, God, for a reason known only to God, chose to wipe them all out for 33 days during the 49 days of Omer, and that's why it has become a sad time. Some people observing it during the first 33 days, and some near the last 33 days of the Omer. Generally, what people will do during that time is things like no haircuts, no shaves, and no live concerts, no music. Of course, everyone has their own way of interpreting what no music means, and maybe we'll get to that in a subsequent halacha. And if you need to save and all those kinds of things, you could ask your rabbi. But those are the general ideas of what we do during Sefiras HaOmer. And each day, of course, at night, we count the next day of this count that God told us to count since the bringing of the carbon of Omer. Thanks for logging on, and log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.